About the audience. Has anybody been doing work in AI search optimization, or AEO, or GEO, or whatever you want to call it? Who's got a website that they manage or oversee? Cool. Any professionals in the group? Awesome. Well, yeah, I'll jump in. So first, I will mention that the slides are going to be available for download, as well as the checklist that I'm going to provide. Yeah, I went deep and created it's like a 37-page checklist of all the elements for AI search optimization. So that'll be available afterwards as well, and I'll call it up also when I have a moment. And yeah, one thing I'll note about today is the past presentations I've done on the AI search have been fairly high level and kind of sort of touching on what it is and sharing some sort of high level stuff on it. This is actually going fairly deep, and there's a lot of information. So we're not going to touch on all the bullets on all the slides in the presentation, but again, they are downloadable. And really, today's session is meant to sort of provide some lasting value and some insights on what to actually do with it. So just quick bit of background. Came to the realization last week that in January, I'll have been a full-time digital marketer for 25 years, which is kind of terrifying and means I'm really old. Have been through a few cycles, but yeah, started my career in digital online downloadable software, launched Plus ROI online marketing in 2007, and then in 2022 launched a separate company called What Works Marketing. And basically the Plus ROI does larger, sort of mostly international clients, and What Works does local service businesses in their own markets, and they're like vastly different, so sort of made sense to have as different companies with the different teams. We've been a Google Premier Partner for 9 of the 10 years the program's existed, which I'm super proud of because we've just got a small team here in Victoria and on the island, and that means that Google has labeled us as being in the top 3% of Google agencies. So yeah, just super proud of my team for that. And in the search optimization, I've been overseeing SEO for over 20 years and actually got pretty deep into it myself starting in about 2009, 2010. And these days, as per my funny AI generated image, I'm basically trying to learn enough about AI fast enough to avoid getting mauled as it takes over, because it's going to have just dramatic impacts on the industry. So the search landscape is definitely changing big time. In the past, Google basically ranked a list of websites. Users would click through to find an answer. They'd go to a website. For that, like link equity and all these signals really mattered. And not that link equity and backlinks don't matter anymore, but now with AI-powered search, of course, as everyone I'm sure knows, AI generates answers directly. Only the top sources are cited, so there's no second page of results to click through on. Either you're in those first few listings or you're not. And then what is actually awesome, and I really like, is that authority is huge. So with Google, it was really more about the signals that existed around a website, and you could kind of fake some of the quality element, and because Google wasn't good at determining good quality from bad quality, just looking at like, well, how many people are linking to it? That'll tell me if it's good or not. And so leading to all sorts of crazy artificial linking schemes and whatnot. But AI is really good at determining authority because it knows if 20 other people have said the same thing. It knows if it's original content or not. So authority is huge. And then what we might call extractability, just its ability to read the content in the first place. So in the time I've been talking about AI search optimization, which I think the first presentation I did on it was about a year ago, actually. At that point, it was just sort of a concept that was coming in, and it's here now. ChatGPT has over 100 million weekly users. I mean, Perplexity is fast becoming kind of go-to place to learn about stuff. Google AI overviews are apparently appearing in something like 90% of searches now, and that will eventually become their interface, I imagine. And then there's the AI browsers. So in the past couple of weeks, we've seen the Perplexity Comet browser pop up, which I've checked out. And actually, one thing about the Perplexity Comet browser is if you sign up for it, it actually gives you the pro features for free. So they're incentivizing people to get onto their browser there's threats of Chrome possibly going away because of the cookie lists, some of the legal rulings, and their whole cookie and privacy and monopoly things. I don't know how likely that is to happen. I'm sure that Google will manage to keep Chrome around, but I think Perplexity is seeing an opportunity to slide in there. And then also ChatGPT has released their Atlas browser, which I haven't loaded up yet because I haven't taken the time to go and load it on my Mac, which I use a PC most of the time. But so it's definitely changing, and it's definitely now. And so the problem for a lot of companies is being the best source of information isn't the same as having AI visibility. So a lot of places do have really deep expertise in their field. They've got excellent content. They offer real value to their clients. But if AI can't read it, then they're just not going to get cited, and they're not going to show up. So two big reasons that this is pretty urgent, and I've touched on this a bit, but one thing is AI is really becoming kind of the new leading top of funnel discovery source. So in terms of, folks talk about people being problem aware, solution aware, and then brand aware. A lot of folks, when they're just early research, are now in large numbers going to AI to learn about things before they go and search for a company. So this is where if you're not showing up in those sort of searches, you're not going to follow along the buying journey there. And then of course there's first mover advantage. So I mean, pretty much every company with a website is going to have to jump on this at some point, but the companies that get into it earlier, develop some expertise, and get a bit of a lead early are going to find it much easier to maintain that over time. It's always harder to catch up. Whoa. I'll mention too, this is very relaxed. By the way, if anybody wants to grab a coffee or needs to pop out, just feel free. Don't feel self-conscious about doing that. And so this, and it's great chatting a bit beforehand. There's a real superpower now around thought leadership now. And basically that's becoming an expert in your field and an expert that's known in your field. Because that really matters, again, more than anything with traditional search. Google used to just rank websites. AI really looks to see how authoritative the people are that are creating the content on these websites and how authoritative the companies are that are doing the sites. So what this means is that if you're just regurgitating other content, AI will recognize that. If you are posting basically the same content, or you're doing a air quote content strategy, if you're doing come on in, or if you're doing a content strategy that you're just relying on AI to write your posts without any meaningful intellectual property or strategic input, AI is going to know that that's just content that exists everywhere. You're not going to be considered an authority. It's not original content, so it's just not going to rank. And the other thing too is if the thought leadership, which is actually an area that's a bit of a passion of mine as an introverted person who's been responsible for sales in my organizations, thought leadership has been my go-to, even going back to offline businesses, providing information and guidance and education to the folks to whom it matters the most, and then sort of reaping the rewards of being a trusted authority in the space. And it might seem like dauntingly like, oh, I'm not an expert. But I mean, even in my own example, I've been working really hard in the last year or so learning AI and becoming a little bit of an expert on that. I am absolutely not an AI expert. I would not ever put myself out as that. But hey, as a marketer, I have gotten a reputation as being a bit of an expert as an in marketing AI. And to be fair, with 25 years of marketing, that is something that I can legitimately feel good about moving towards. Alternately, if you work in a specific industry or specific niche or a specific geography, becoming the go-to expert in that smaller area is a great first step, and it's really not that hard, and it does make a huge difference in terms of an overall strategy. And again, I won't go too deep into it, but like in SEO, traditionally it did work a little bit. Like if you added the technical elements, got all the links in place, you would get some traffic. With AI, it really doesn't work that way. You have to have some substance behind it. And I won't get too bogged down here. If there are any questions, by the way, feel free to toss them out as we go. I'm going to try and also move through everything reasonably quickly so there's time to address questions at the end and have some discussion as well. So again, the real sort of edge and the major advantage is combining that thought leadership with technical optimization and technical leadership. And it's not about faking it. It's really about buying into it as part of your overall company and doing something that makes sense for the company. So genuine expertise. Hi, come on in. Genuine expertise and thought leadership. You need the technical optimization for the AI extraction or crawlability, if you will, although AI doesn't technically crawl. You need clear authority signals, which we're going to touch on in a bit, and then citation-worthy content on top of that. And the companies that are able to do that really do dominate the space. Feel free to grab a seat, and we got some more chairs tucked away too if we need them.
Do you have some examples of the companies that are like the ones that you mentioned that are dominating the space?
Not off the top of my head. I can follow up on that, but yeah, I will take that opportunity to have a sip of coffee though. I think, yeah, so just diving into talking about how AI systems decide to cite you or not. So there's sort of a decision tree, not that it, hi there, come on in. Yeah, just grab a chair, and there's another one over here and a couple littered around. Yeah, we can also pull out a couple extras if there's more that come. I think we got. Yeah, there's another one. All right, so back to regular programming. So in terms of how AI decides whether to cite you or not, this is not like a linear thing, but it's all these factors that come into play. So first off, is your website authoritative? Do you actually know what you're talking about? Next one, is it extractable? And it's not like AI is asking, is this extractable? But AI is coming to the website and it can either read your site or it can't. And then from that point, it's like there's a whole bunch of optimization things that really help it, which we're going to jump into in a moment, that really help it extract the information. Is your content comprehensive? Like, does it fully answer the question that folks are asking about your subject? Is it current or not? If it's information that's affected by dates like technology stuff, if it's not current, that's not any good. If it's right up to date, that's great. And then a big one too, is there original insight? And again, because AI knows if stuff is just AI generated. And not to say you can't use AI tools in your content creation. We do that all the time and it does get indexed, but is there original information in what you're providing?
Rob?
Yeah?
Can I ask you a question about that?
For sure.
So those 5 points that you had up there.
Yep.
Would you place equal weight on the emphasis on each one of those points? Or would you say one is more, is there a ranking within those five?
The two big ones are, which we'll talk about a bit more, but the two big ones in my mind are the sort of overall technical status of your site, so that it's fast enough, that it's crawlable, that you're using proper structure, and the quality of the content. And I talk about that a bit further, but those are the first two big ones that are must-haves. And so without those, you're kind of in rough shape. And then looking at, I've been talking about authority and having authority, but how do you establish it? And so there's things like, for individuals, for the people who are writing, there's things like author bios. For instance, if you have, and it's funny and to be honest, this is really important in SEO as well, but very few folks do it. So for instance, if you have a blog and are creating content, having a fully fleshed out author page. So for instance, WordPress automatically creates an author page. Very few people ever go and customize it. So on your author page, you can actually have your background, you can have links to your LinkedIn, you can have links to other places you're published, you can have links to awards or credentials that you have. And that sort of thing is huge in terms of establishing your authority and kind of proving your authority and closing the loop. That's all. The things I just described doing are also great things to do on the About page. And that's where, again, relevant credentials like certificates, degrees, relevant experience. And then if you're writing about this topic across multiple sources, so maybe you're on Medium, maybe you're writing posts on LinkedIn articles, and then maybe you're blogging. So it's pretty darn straightforward to, on your author page, to add links to the other places that you're publishing. And because you can't really trust that AI is necessarily going to close the loop. I think in my case, there's a whole lot of Robert Coopers out there. I'm not following a lot of best practices right now. Sometimes I go by Rob, sometimes I go by Robert. I actually have been on myself to make a decision and then go and flesh out like a complete identity and then link to it in central spots. And then again, to kind of close that loop. And then there's the traditional SEO language around expertise, experience, authority, and trust. So showing all those things. For a company to show that it's authoritative, actually in the world of conversion optimization, we talk about credibility indicators. So if on a landing page you want to show awards, years in business, certifications, professional associations you're a member of. Same thing goes for AI. So you want to have an About page that really does communicate the expertise of your team. You want to position the team as specialists in different areas. You want to kind of show your track record through things like case studies, client results, testimonials, with actual data in it that's original and not just kind of regurgitated and not very general. You want to be very specific about the kind of results and data. And then again, the industry recognitions are huge. So if you're, a great example is if you were a development contractor or something involved in software development, showing all your credentials, all your partnerships, all the I'm trying to think of I'm having a moment here. I definitely need some more coffee, but like all the certifications that you've achieved, because a lot of those organizations post those certifications, have lists of the people that have qualified, and you have a badge, and so you can actually point and establish to the credibility of that as organizations or individuals. So again, I really harp on about this, about the, you can't just check the boxes. And just to mention too, the slides will be available for download afterwards. You can't just check the boxes. You really have to buy into what you're doing and believe in it. And to be fair too, I'll share, not everybody needs to do AI search optimization, just like not everybody needs to do SEO. Like I know lots of consultants and coaches and B2B organizations that are very healthy functioning almost entirely on networking and referrals, and that's fine. So it's not like everybody needs to do this, but if it's important for your company to show up in AI search, again, you really do need to buy into it, but not just buy into the idea of AI search, buy into the idea that you want your company to have expertise in certain areas, that you want to show that. And so again, generic things don't really work. You want to get into specific details, and vague credentials aren't good. You want to specify exactly what credentials you have and point to the organizations that provide them, and then attribute sort of authorship wherever you can across the thing. And again, I won't get into all the details there. And this is where, again, in terms of, and it's funny because as a marketer, well, first off, as a marketer, I don't trust marketers. I've been around enough of us to know that like there's a lot of funny stuff that goes on in marketing, and things like content marketing that are described more as a functional activity versus a philosophy of creating value and then showing that value. And I just remember when, whether it was been SEO or social media or content marketing, there's a huge band of people that is, oh no, you need to post your blog every week and we'll optimize it, you'll get all this traffic, and that's how a lot of this is presented. You can't do that. You do really have to buy into it. And again, so actual information and just stuff that people who are interested in what you're doing would actually be interested in. And then again, getting into a bit more depth on the technical side, you really need to make it machine readable. And one note I'll make as well about AI search versus Google search is that Google literally indexes the entire web, as far as like it just goes to a link, goes to another link, it goes to like it doesn't stop. It's like a teenager like scrolling TikTok, like until it just keeps going. And it does read every word on every page that it indexes, whereas AI is more like a human. It only reads as far as it thinks there's value. So if it arrives at a site and there's no real clear indicators of what the content is or that it's good content, it'll just go to the next site. So that's where you really do need this sort of the technical markup as well as the sort of quality element. So schema is something that's been around forever and is quite important for SEO. Very few people do it, but it's ridiculously important for AI to adopt a practice of tagging your content with schema, which basically is, in layman's terms, is a layer of fairly simple code that sits on top of certain elements to tell AI and Google what it is. Structuring your data into like lists, tables, that sort of thing, that's really helpful. Yep.
Before you go on with that, this SEO, so if you were to compare it to the Google looking for websites, like that's always been like a headings thing, so it's looking for H1, H2, and like, so when you're saying AI is looking for, like it's gonna leave the page if it's not finding what it's looking for, is that aspect similar? And when you're creating content, like how will it determine if this is of value or not?
Well, the biggest tip and like a really accessible and practical tip is probably the biggest simple thing is summaries at the start of the pages. You're starting to see that popping up for blog posts, product descriptions, just about everything, like a 1 or 2 sentence summary. I call it the TLDR for the too long didn't read, that's describing what is on the page. And that's a great signal to AI about whether it makes sense to crawl further. Again, it's kind of like humans. If you think there's going to be value, you keep reading. AI is like that as well. If it gets to a site and can't figure out what it is or doesn't think that it's valuable, it just stops. So you basically don't exist. And that sort of too long didn't read sort of summary is very helpful. And I mean, even like, I think you kind of have to be a little bit careful to massage it into a brand-friendly way of doing it, because I think of all the SEO stuff, like everybody's seen like a plumbing website that has like the hero tile has a big caption of like, your Victoria, British Columbia plumber. And it's like, well, that's like just totally awkward. Some SEO person told you to write that so that it would show up for keywords, but it's just totally not brand friendly or really human friendly at all. So I think there's kind of a delicate balance around that to like start doing things like, it's not a technical exercise of just, stamping in a summary, but kind of thinking about how you can make it fit with your style and brand. But they are very important for AI search. There's no two ways around that.
Question.
Yeah.
Have you seen anything around page hierarchy? So,
Absolutely.
yeah, so
Yeah.
it impacts the search too?
Yeah. So if I'm understanding correctly, you're thinking in terms of if you have directories and subdirectories or pages and subpages and subpages. Absolutely. And that works for Google as well. And I got to say, like, with the AI search, there is actually no new technology in particular. It is just sort of application of more or less the same technology that was available for SEO, but with some different emphasis. And so all of a sudden, whereas it's always been a best practice to have like H1s and H2s and proper title tags and summaries and all that sort of stuff, it's really critical for AI, because unlike Google that will keep crawling things and that will go to the bottom of the page. And I mean, in Google's case, if you, and it's funny because it had a new client that has a blog and a bunch of information. It's not in their main title, it's like down in their footer. And it's kind of like, Google will still find that, but Google is going to assume that if something is that low on the page that it's not important. So that's a signal to Google that it's not important. In AI, it probably won't go that far even. So whatever is really important, you do want, especially for a home page, you want a hierarchy where the important stuff is higher on the page. Yep.
I'm kind of going down that rabbit hole just a little bit further, because I'm just thinking in my mind, like, your basic homepage, and you've got, like, you would want to share your value prop and your pain points and, testimonials and stuff. So how do you, what does this new anatomy of a homepage look like?
Well, it's a real balancing act, and it's different for everyone. Because and this is we deal with this already, because you've got brand, you've got conversion optimization, and then you've got historically Google crawling, and now AI crawling. And if any of those were in isolation, you would do them differently than all together. So it's really all I can say is really just kind of a question of understanding the principles. I mean, on almost all the websites we work on, we make sure there's like a clear value statement at the top, a clear call to action for people that are ready to act. And then it's like, well, what is the most important next thing? So if you're a well-known brand, and if most of your visitors are already going to know a bit about you and what you stand for, maybe your value prop is a bit further down the page. If you're more socially oriented, but people aren't familiar with you, you maybe want it higher on the page to resonate. But there is really no two ways about it. Whatever is highest on the page is seen as being the most important by Google, but it's also the most likely to be found by AI. So, yeah,
It's very complex.
yeah.
And Rob, is it true that when you say brand, you don't mean color? Because agents don't care what color your website is when they're finding you an AI SEO search. If it's black or red or pink, that doesn't matter. It's the words on the pages.
Yeah, so this is, yeah, this is ever changing. I've never, in everything I've read and looked at and studied and researched, like never heard about color playing an impact. And in fact, the sort of, I wouldn't say brand is irrelevant, but I don't think at this point AI is going further than reading like the alt tags on the images. It's not looking at the images and deciding if they're good or not. So, so that was got a little deeper there than expected, but that's great. And again,
Yeah, I just want to share that Webflow launched something yesterday where it's like an AI assistant where it will automatically do your schema markup, your alt tags, and your meta tags just like instantly. Before that was like a lot of work, and if you use Webflow, it's like a really good use case right now.
That's awesome. And I would expect to see more and more of that. And I will throw in that is like, I don't know if anybody does LinkedIn ads or has allowed LinkedIn to try and write any sentences for you. But that's an example where it's, oh my God, is that ever awful? And knowing Webflow and the brand, they've probably done a good job of that. But this is where it's going to get really interesting in an AI world is I very strongly believe that there still is human value on top of that. Because the AI, and again, Webflow is awesome and they're really smart. So I'm sure it's very good, but I guarantee there's another level of value to add on to it by having a human still do those, the meta descriptions and meta tags and sort of bring in the strategic knowledge of your market and goals and that. So, and I think that is truly what's going to differentiate companies and marketers is being able to have that extra notch in whatever their market or niche is, which that's my hope anyhow. That's what I'm planning on being able to feed my family and whatnot.
AI slop. If everyone's using
Yeah.
and doing the same thing, it's just like everyone's using AI to generate their content. If you're getting slop out there,
Yeah.
it's probably similar.
And I would, and it's interesting because I would kind of venture a guess that if a company has done a great job writing their pages and has thought about, and I don't want to say optimized for their keywords, but rather understood the language of their clients and embedded that into their pages, Webflow probably does a pretty good job of getting those meta descriptions together. But again, it's just soon everybody's going to have access to this same set of tools for next to no cost. So my firm belief, and maybe it's wishful thinking, but I do believe that may have to niche down a little bit, but that there is value for that human layer on top of that. Yeah, so some other elements, direct answers to questions, and that is different as well. Like we have a client that, just in terms of examples that do work, that created an Ask an Accountant section years ago, and that's the nature of their blog. And they get a lot of referrals through AI because they took the time, because they're literally the headlines in their blog, and we're actually just putting schema in there right now, which wasn't there previously, but their headlines was a question, and then they did an in-depth, thoughtful answer for their market. So you'll see a lot more Q&A and FAQs, and I'm probably jumping ahead a little bit, but do talk, like FAQs are a fantastic tool to use as well. So on any product or service page, to have sort of an FAQ section that is sort of labeled with schema on top of it, very valuable. Again, leveraging some quality information about the specific market that you're in or serve. Yeah, and then again, just like scannable formatting and again, just like thinking like if you're writing for a human, which I mean, in my case, for my own writing and work, I never have a paragraph that has more than 2 sentences in it anymore. Lots of bold headlines, short sentences, all those things that make it easy for an impatient human to be able to quickly scan and understand what you're talking about is also valuable for AI. Won't get too deep into this, but content comprehensiveness, going deeper than your competitors, doing a better job than your competitors at answering questions, providing information on that, analyzing all the different parts of the question and actually explaining how to leverage the information, and then also acknowledging when the information might not work is huge. And then this, and it's funny because this information should be redundant because everybody should be doing it, but let me tell you, everybody is not. So things like your page speed, which you can look up on the Google PageSpeed tool, making sure that it's fast enough, mobile responsiveness, security, making sure that your site's all crawlable. Again, your URL structure having clear, logical, and descriptive URLs, and having a hierarchy of URLs when it's relevant. And then just simple stuff like your sitemaps and your robots.txt. And it's kind of interesting because these are, I used to tell people, especially, we work, for instance, in the with an auto group that has 11 dealer websites that we work with them. We don't do their websites. They have so much media, so many photos, so much stuff going on their websites that they're very slow. However, all their competitors have slow sites as well. So it's kind of like my advice has been, well, you're not going to have a perfect site. Just make sure that it's at least better than the competitors, and you'll stand out in Google's eyes. With AI, the risk is that it's good to be better, and you have to be better to show up higher. But the other risk is if you're not above a certain threshold, you're just not going to show up at all. Like if AI is impatient with how long it takes your information to load or is unable to crawl, it's just like, forget it. Like it's not gonna happen at all. For the folks that are content driven in here, one thing that is super powerful with AI optimization, also has been super powerful with SEO for years, but very few people make the most of it. And it just, I was going to say it kills me, but actually I kind of love it because it's always a great opportunity for when I'm pitching some new work, when I find that, oh, this company's been investing in this high quality blog content, but they've never taken the time to properly organize it. So this is where a pillar strategy comes into play, and it's the term was popularized by HubSpot. They kind of led the whole content marketing revolution back, I want to say like 2015 sort of thing. Essentially, it's quite simple. It's really, if you have maybe, I don't know, let's say I'm a pet store owner, which is a ridiculously simplistic description, but I might blog one week about dogs, another week about cats. So here's like rodents and then birds. And a typical blog, over the course of 2 years, maybe there's like 40 or 50 blog posts built up, but they're all just in this like mixed pile of stuff, all mixed together in the blog roll in reverse chronological order. If they've assigned categories, there will be category pages, but what you really want to do is be proactive and think of what are the key themes of my business that are really important to our clients, and then organize your content and thought leadership strategy around those. And then in a blog, or you have to do it, it's automatic. You can do it more or less automatically in WordPress if you do it well, or you can do it manually in a resource section or something, but sort of breaking out all those important topics. So in the example of the pet store owner, categorizing each different post by the type of animal, and then making sure that you have categories assigned and have category pages that are customized. And most platforms that have categories allow you to customize the category pages, but nobody does. So you can actually write, and a category page would typically just have a listing of all the recent posts in that category, but you can actually write up a description around it. You can point to some of the top posts in that category. You can create a category page that is a real magnet, and that's the top of your pillar. So now instead of just 5 or 6 topics mixed into this random soup, you have 5 or 6 very specific linear categories that are really easy for AI, or Google for that matter, to understand and index and learn that you are, oh, hey, they are an expert on these 5 categories. And it can go beyond that, but I won't go any deeper now. In terms of the real world, and to go back to a bit of the conversation earlier, it is different for everybody. So if you were a local service business, it would be more or less sharing local local specific knowledge about whatever your topic is. So actually I do a training and a presentation on writing in your own voice. And in that, I use this landscaper example of asking AI, write me a landscaping post. And you would get something that would be readable versus like, oh, I've got a small landscaping firm in Victoria, British Columbia. Please write me a post on the importance of deep watering to encourage healthy lawn growth and deep roots in shady areas, and reference Broadmead and the uplands. And it would write a very good post about that, but to the same point, that's where it's not, and again, I see so many companies wasting so much money because somebody told them that they need to blog once a month or twice a month or 4 times a month, and they just put something about landscaping up every month. That's where, again, for the expertise, you need to dial it in and make it very specific to your market, share your insight about your market and your area. And again, I don't think there's any industry locally that you couldn't be an expert in if you chose to do that, if you're a professional in that industry. Sort of enterprise and B2B, kind of more around thought leadership, like industry trends, best practices, industry interviews, white papers, blogging, research, kind of all that stuff that you'd expect is really important. And then if you're in e-commerce, things like product comparisons that have like real data around why you might choose sort of your product over another product, or sort of category and product specific sort of topics. Fairly straightforward there. And then we get to my complete AEO checklist, which I should have opened it before starting this. Maybe I will. I think we've got everyone topped up. So I was kind of cursing myself Tuesday and Wednesday for deciding to do this, because it ended up being a whole lot more, it ended up going a lot deeper than I thought I would. So, but what I've made available is an AI optimization checklist that goes into 13 areas. So authority and expertise signals, content comprehensiveness, structured data implementation. All of this requires a little bit more research to uncover sort of this absolutely isn't a how-to. It lists all the areas. It would be several volumes of a book to get into absolutely everything, but the summary and extraction optimization, internal linking and topic clusters, which is, similar to that technical foundation. I won't get into everything, but it gets into all those areas, and then also has a bit of an overall assessment. If you're really motivated, you can sort of grade your overall sort of effort and where you're at. There's a bit of instruction there. And then, of course, my greedy pitch that we're happy to help with any organizations that are looking for professional assistance. And it's funny because beforehand was talking a bit and talking about sort of the DIY thing, and I love DIY. What I would say is, to succeed with DIY in this, you have to be at least a little bit passionate about it. It's not, it would be a very, very painful thing to jump into and do it yourself if you don't have an interest in it. But yeah, a lot of information. And again, through my organizations, we help everything from simply doing a strategic audit and report to create a prioritized list of the action items, right through to a done-for-you solution. And I won't go on about that, but just want to let people know that is out there. And so it's time to move into some questions. And what I've got here, so the download and presentation checklist is here. I do extort you into signing up for our newsletter for the download, but you can.
It's not my firstborn child.
Yeah, you can unsubscribe at any time. And then I love connecting with folks on LinkedIn, so there's the QR code for LinkedIn. And with that said, let's get into shares or questions? Yes, sir.
So like, if you, like, let's just say you're going after, like, let's say a review of like cold plunges or something, and you see the results that are coming through GPT. Is it worth like, because you know how it shows you the little icons and the citation sources? Is it worth like mapping that up and like reverse engineering that? Be like, I need to get an article into these same sources so that I can rank.
Absolutely.
Love that line of thinking, though.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and that's a great, and that is the most it sounds crazy because like with SEO, there's a whole mature suite of tools that allow you to figure out exactly where you're ranking, exactly who else is. That doesn't really exist for AI yet, and there are tools that are coming out that say they will show you your AI rankings. Absolute bullshit. It's like it's so, because the difference with AI is that every single user, like ChatGPT knows that I'm a marketer. It knows I'm a mountain biker. It knows I do a lot of DIY landscaping and renovation, and it changes every search. It takes into exactly who I am when it thinks about what answers to give. So I really don't think at this juncture that it's possible that any of these tools are giving you an accurate report. So going and seeing who's ranking, and then especially locally figuring out, and I will change that it changes all the time right now, because I was feeling really pained and upset a little while ago because I went to look and see how a couple of our local clients were doing, and through the What Works company were doing in local AI search. I was like, oh, they dropped out, and it's only people that are in this 3 Best Local or something. I'm probably getting the name wrong, but this Best Local ranking website, which is kind of a pseudo independent ranking, and 3 Best Local. Anyhow, I was kind of like, oh my gosh, we have to tell our clients to get involved in this third-party kind of ranking and rating system, and that lasted for like 2 weeks, and then now you don't. So I think focusing on the fundamentals, but really the thing you can't go wrong with is getting really specific to your audience and answering the specific questions of the audience that you're catering to, whether it's location specific, industry specific, niching down and then growing out from there, I would say would be, but absolutely seeing where what the competitors are doing and then doing it better than them. Pretty sure.
I know there's tools for like SEO and SEM that you can go in and you can look at, you know, what is your, like if you've got certain content ideas around like dogs, for example, dog food or something like that, and you can go and you can find what are the long tails that, you know, like that people are searching for. Is there something like that that is like a tool that is specific to AI yet?
Well, I shouldn't share this, but I generally just start discussing it with AI. Like, what are the emerging topics around this in this area or this industry, and then I'll take that and apply. I'll have some opinions on it, or it can be localized to your market, or so sort of to take some of the information that it's already looking for and making it your own, I think is the really important thing. And yeah.
Just an adjacent question to this is like, you know how when you write content using like ChatGPT, it's like fingerprinted somehow, like yourself. Do you scrub that when you're like posting articles so like it doesn't get picked up by the?
So sharing how I write everything now, and I've gone from being an AI skeptic to being all in. I've trained custom GPTs and Claude projects to write in my own voice, which basically includes like giving 10 like uploading. I think I've uploaded like 10 files of sample writing. I've got something like a 4-page description of how I write and what conventions to follow and to never use an M-dash. And now in that case, I basically go to the tool, give it the thesis that I want to make and what I'm writing about, give it the bullet points that I'm going to write about, and then hit go, and it's a process that's at least 4 times faster than how I used to write, but it's original content. And just to answer the first question is, I have no concerns whatsoever about that showing up, or if AI can detect that there's AI in it. And because both Google and AI do index AI content, it's really just, is it original and is it any good?
And I've seen, just to leave off that, I've seen those posts and the content that's hidden in the background, but when I've tried to scrape it, it doesn't find it. So I don't know if that's BS or not. So, yeah,
Yeah, no, it's
little tagging or whatever they do.
Yeah, there's like apparently like it spaces things out. There's like hidden characters.
Yeah.
So when you copy and paste like it into WordPress and publish, there's characters that aren't visible, but tell the search engine that this was generated through.
So even your output is doing that, but I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, I'm using Claude these days for writing and kind of jumping back for it. And I'm not recommending Claude necessarily because the models change so quickly that probably whichever one you're most comfortable with. But yeah, I'll have to dig into that a bit. I'm not really remotely concerned about it in my situation because I am putting clear and original content in it my belief is that it's not going to impair it from being searched or indexed or surfaced. Yeah.
Have you looked into, I know ChatGPT now has like a shop functionality, so that you can buy a product within ChatGPT. Do you know how to like get ranked for that or get ranked as like an app recommendation inside the chat?
I have no clue.
I do. There are two, I'll make sure Rob you have them. There are 2 websites. One, you can apply to be on their list, like whether you're a service business or not. So there's a link there on OpenAI's website. Then OpenAI also just launched, I'll look it up, I have a slide on it, and then I'll share it out.
I think there's a Shopify integration.
Coming, yeah, Shopify, Etsy, Walmart. Yeah.
Yeah, I will share one thing in terms of speaking before about there being nothing different and no new technology. There are feeds that are starting, that folks are starting to launch that in theory are going to feed all the information from a website into AI without AI having to crawl the site. This will happen. My understanding is that none of them are actually in use by the AIs yet. So that would be something to really watch out for, because as soon as that's available, particularly for like shopping and stuff like that, that will be huge, especially for larger sites to be able to have something where it's no work for AI and it doesn't have to crawl, it just gets the feed, which is kind of terrifying for like if you build websites or that, like could one day just be agents scouring feeds rather than people going to websites, but who knows?
Look up Agentic Commerce under developers.openai.com/commerce. There's a bunch of stuff in there.
Any other questions or shares or?
In terms of optimizing your website, does it matter if you're using AI-generated images for content versus actual images? Does it rank differently in terms of SEO?
I have not heard that it does, and I would say it's only been recently that most people like myself have been able to leverage AI to get good enough images to have outside of like a blog or kind of a social, and I don't want to say throwaway things. They're certainly not throwaway, but it's only just emerging that they're getting good enough to have like product images and that sort of thing with AI. But I really don't see it punishing that as long as, I don't think it probably even knows. At this point, to my understanding, it is really only looking at the alt tags on the images, not studying the images. I'm sure that will absolutely change over time, that it will be kind of reading the images and that as well. But I personally would have no concerns about that. Yeah. Anyone else? Yeah.
Like, I see a lot of value in this for like local search. Like if you're a local business and you optimize for this and someone searches up best XYZ in Victoria, that's really good. But what if you're in a more competitive space where you're playing against like bigger players like HubSpot or MasterCard, and they have millions of dollars to put into this. How do you find that like niche to optimize for AI search?
I think, yeah, no, I think, so, I mean, if you're in business and making money, there's somebody that you're making happy. And that's where we go through this exercise with clients. And people are really pained sometimes when you're like, no, let's narrow it right down. And they say, oh, no, we don't want to exclude people. And it's like, no, let's get who absolutely loves your product the most, who's the absolute best fit. And it's usually, again, it might be a geographic subset, it might be industry specific, it might be interest based, but basically to take your broader offering and basically win with something niche, so focusing on that as a pillar in your content strategy. Because what I would share, especially if you're competing with bigger competitors, diluting your efforts across a broad thing, you're never ever going to win. Whereas you can go narrower than they ever will. So I would say going down narrow enough that you can win at it and provide better content than they are, then it's not, and you're not going to have like tons and tons of traffic, but you're getting some traffic, it's going to win, and then starting to build out into adjacent areas from there. That's my kind of entire marketing philosophy for marketing against bigger companies anyhow, but the same will totally apply with the optimization. Yeah, anyone else before we wrap it up? All right, well, I think we're done, so thank you very much. Oh, thank you.